Premier League is back with some interesting match fixtures for some teams that have spent a lot in the transfer window as the reigning champs face a Leeds game that was extremely exciting, alongside some transfer news and just some discussions about some players that are highly in the rumor mill and in the news. Let's start off with that Tottenham versus Everton game. Just to be honest, it was a boring game. Not really eventful. It was interesting to see some of the players though. James Rodriguez really did well. A lot of I believe it was 5 chances that he created for Everton, and Richarlison wasn't really on the day. Calvert-Lewin was the one who scored the goal for them, but James Rodriguez, I think, moving on from Real Madrid, and it's reported that he actually moved on a free transfer, according to the transfer market. That although it wasn't 25 million that Everton obtained him on, but instead it was because a sell-on clause. So for the if he does leave Everton, Real Madrid will get a part of that fee. But still, amazing signing for Everton. And James Rodriguez, I think it could be a club that Everton could provide him that space where there's not a whole lot of expectations, to be honest, with this team. Of course, he's going to still have that, direct spotlight, but I feel like since the Everton is not as big of a club in terms of stature as Real Madrid, he has more of that time to really just get that form again and see that James Rodriguez we saw in the World Cup. And I think he definitely can restore his stature here in Everton. I mean, if we can keep those performances up in terms of just creating chances and looking pretty solid as a player for Everton and doing things that Everton should be possible, because Everton now has the transfers and the investment from the club and the board. They have a great manager. They should be doing some remarkable things. They should be doing a lot more. And if James Rodriguez can help them do that, then he will restore his stature. And I mean, he's had so much potential, and he can achieve it, but he just needs a right environment. And if Everton is that right environment for him, with a manager who honestly I think just trust him to do that. I mean, he's managed him on 3 different teams: Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, and now Everton. I think that Carlo Ancelotti can definitely help him achieve what he is capable of, and he will, I believe, do well. And James Rodriguez, I'm telling you, just needs more time. He's moving from Real Madrid to Everton, and if he gets that playing time in and just continues to adapt and really show what he's capable of, he's going to be putting in a really impressive season, and we could see some impressive things that he does with Everton this season. Alongside in that Tottenham versus Everton game, we saw a Tottenham side that was a little interesting in terms of the decisions they were making, such as before the end of first half, Heung-min passes on a free kick when you need to hit it because the first half is about to end, and some other decisions that were a little shaky from the defense. Ben Davies passing, and I think that it's just the process that Tottenham is still going to face, and they should finish it by the end of the season. And alongside Eric Dyer signing a new contract, I think he's definitely a focal point in terms of targeting for that defense and criticism. But I think he just needs time. I mean, he's been a player who's been on and off in terms of playing as center back or in the midfield or so many different roles. He's not been able to settle really into one role, and I think that now he's under Jose Mourinho, a player who Jose Mourinho likes, and I think wants on his team and wants him in his future plans. And I think Eric Dyer recognizes that, and that is one of the reasons he stated he signed that new 4-year contract, or 4 or 5 year new contract. And I think we got a player, Eric Dyer, who could be a defender that is solid. He has the physical attributes. He has that will and desire. He just needs time. I mean, if he can continue to get a couple games in, just like consistently, he will be settled into that position. And I mean, you've seen it in the past. He's been changing roles and is a very versatile player. Don't get me wrong, but if he's settled in a role that he likes and that he can play in, he can definitely achieve some great things and help Jose Mourinho get that solid defensive backline he's looking for in Spurs, and help continue and catapult Tottenham to a trophy. And one of the things that they need to get that trophy that they desire, and Spurs fan and the club and the fans need and want, is a solid defense. And we've seen that Tottenham defense just be very, very shaky as well this last season, conceding goals. Of course, that Everton game, kind of I'd say a little bit of an unlucky game in terms of the chances that they've had, but they were also very lucky to be even to be given so many. The scoreline could have been far larger with errors from Davies and leading to Richarlison almost scoring, but still, again, that Tottenham defensive line, give them a couple more games, and then the criticism, I think, is more justified because we got Eric Dyer, who's looking to be settled in that position. He did play some games last season in that position, but just some more times and more Premier League games specifically to give that match experience, and hopefully he will be settled into that position. Liverpool versus Leeds. What an exciting game. It was amazing. I got off work and I watched the replay. I tried to avoid spoilers and I was lucky that I did. Great game. This really back and forth. I think that people shouldn't be too critical of Liverpool in terms of as a team as a whole, but defensively they were shaky. Van Dijk making some errors that you don't expect of him. But Liverpool, I think, are not looking far worse than they did last season. They haven't declined heavily from last season where they did so well. But Leeds, very impressive performance, almost getting a point from that game. To be honest, I was a little sad to see that Robin Koch, a Freiburg player, my favorite club, who came there, was the reason for those two goals being scored. But I mean, some of those decisions, it's just unlucky. But also, he's just adapting. First game in the league, and you're being told to mark one of the best defenders and one of the best, best scorers from penalty set pieces. Virgil van Dijk. But still, good, very good from Leeds. Great performance. Of course, I feel that it is a little dangerous for them to, if they do take this in and just think that they've got it in the bag, that will be bad. But I highly doubt that would happen. But Liverpool versus Leeds, great game, 4-3. Mo Salah looking on fire. Of course, Mo Salah, I think he is a little underrated, and he doesn't get as much credit as he deserves, but he's still putting in those performances season after season. He can't really replicate that season prior. But Leeds, speaking again about Leeds, I'm really excited for what they're showing and the type of football that they're playing. Very entertaining game to watch, and I think they're going to be an interesting, really, really watchable team to watch, and what they're going to show. The football that they're playing under Bielsa and the players that they brought in are of quality. And just a lot of investment being put into that squad. I think that they can play some remarkable games and show some remarkable football. And I'm sure they're going to be a joy to watch. And more importantly, they should stay in that Premier League. They have the investment compared to other clubs that stayed in the Premier League last season. And they have the player, they have the managers, they have the support, they have everything that they need to stay in the Premier League. And in the future, they can stay in the Premier League more and even do better things and go for some great achievements. But still, exciting things to come from Leeds. Chelsea versus Brighton. Interesting game. Timo Werner looking very, very good, considering he did get a lot of time to play and train with Chelsea. Kai Havertz still transitioning into the Premier League. He's only been there for a week or two, I believe. So there is a big time difference in terms of settling in. And of course, Bundesliga and the Premier League aren't the same. Even Timo Werner said that it's a different football, but he does enjoy it. And I think Timo Werner wins a penalty. He didn't take it because I don't think he's fully settled in right now. So Jorginho took it and continued his 100% record. Kai Havertz was a little invisible in the game, but he did show that determination on the pitch, such as running back on certain occasions, and it'll just be a matter of time. I have full belief that Kai Havertz will do well, and Kai Havertz just, again, he needs more time to adapt. People's expectations will be high because of the transfer fee that he has on him. People are labeling him one of the next best generational talents, and I believe he can achieve that. But it's that expectation can lead to people wanting to rush him and expect him to fully just show that right away. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. But you can't expect a player to fully just be hot fire in the first first match that they play in the Premier League. And give him more time at Chelsea, and we will see him just really, really shine. And I think Frank Lampard is one of the best managers, the best new managers to really play under, who can really guide him. I mean, he himself was a legendary player, just excellent player that can really help guide Kai Havertz to really achieving that. And he just needs time, staying focused, still showing that determination and work ethic that we saw on the field last against Brighton. And if he does, I'm telling you, he will do well, and he will achieve that potential and justify that transfer fee that Chelsea paid for him. And just continuing on for that Chelsea game, we got to speak about Kepa again. I really do feel bad for him, and I don't want to talk about him too much. I'm sure he's never gonna see this clip, but Kepa confidence is just unrecoverable, I think. And of course, I think even Frank Lampard recognizes that he's not good enough for Chelsea. And I don't want to be too harsh because people are already, saying all sorts of names towards him, and just, I mean, it definitely will get into your head, and that just breaking someone's confidence. And that's one of the problems with some of these big teams, is that a few bad matches and people's confidence just goes down. And it's not their fault completely, because it requires a certain character to push through and do well in these type of clubs. And goalkeeper is a position that your mistakes can be highlighted, like that long shot outside the box against Brighton, Trossard, I believe. Trossard should not have scored that. He really shouldn't. Kepa could have blocked that, and unfortunately for him, he didn't block it. His team managed to just keep pushing and score the goals needed to win the game. But still, Kepa I think his confidence unrecoverable, and that's why they're looking for a new keeper, someone who's more of quality. But they do need to look for someone who is more iron-willed in terms, or less likely to take it to heart. And I'm not trying to blame him for taking it to heart, because I'm sure a lot of people would in his situation. But in the situation that he is in as a Chelsea player, a player for a big club, you're expected to hold off that criticism and play well and maintain your confidence. And confidence is easy to lose, and unfortunately he did lose it. And it's one of the reasons. I mean, be given such a big price tag, having that onto your name, and then some poor performances, a lot of poor performances, mistakes that are highlighted, and then more mistakes lead to that. It's very sad to see, but I think it's understandable. And he just needs to do okay enough where he can continue his career, but I don't think he really has a career outside of Chelsea. But if he does recover somehow, if he recovers from this loss, if confidence and just poor form, and I think that would be an amazing story, but I highly doubt it. All right, moving on to some transfer stories and just some other stories I like to talk about. Bernd Leno. Bernd Leno is better than Emiliano Martinez. I don't know what Arsenal fans are talking about. All respect to Emiliano Martinez. Martinez is great, really good keeper. He really showed it when Bernd Leno, left, or Bernd Leno got injured, and he really showed it and stepped up. But it's interesting that Arsenal fans are sad that he's leaving, and they should be sad because he did a lot for them. He's been patient to get that, and he's finally been lucky enough to move away and potentially get a starting spot for a team such as Aston Villa, I believe. I believe it's Aston Villa for a 20 million transfer fee. But Emiliano Martinez is not the same level as Bernd Leno. Bernd Leno has saved Arsenal so many times. In the beginning of the season, Arsenal's defense was way worse prior to Arteta. But Bernd Leno saved them so many times with his heroic saves. Martinez is a good goalkeeper who finally has gotten the recognition, but he's an okay, good, solid keeper. He's not amazing, but Bernd Leno is, I'd say, quality better. He's a far better keeper than Martinez, and I think that Arsenal fans need to recognize that and not suddenly just write off Bernd Leno, because Bernd Leno is a solid player and goalkeeper that's helped save them many times. And I think if he gets his groove going again after that injury, we can see just him justify again why he was that first choice goalkeeper. Now that Arteta has really kind of helped that defense, they brought in new players that can help that defense just be stable. But you just need to see. Just trust in Bernd Leno. I admired what he did under Arsenal's poor defense and in earlier in the season, and now that it's gotten a little better, he will do even better. Also, Tottenham are in a desperate need for a striker. They've tried to bring in strikers, and they need a striker. Jose Mourinho even said that he needs a striker, and it's not to blame them after that defeat against Everton, he said, but they just need a striker for depth. I mean, Harry Kane, he was out for months, I think, a few months, or 2 months maybe, and that just messed up Tottenham. They were just in a poor state of form, and then they lost Son, and the misery just piled on, and they need a backup striker. And it's reported that they're interested in Alexander Sorloth, the Norwegian striker. He's a player for Crystal Palace, but on loan for Turkish side Trabzonspor, if I'm saying that correctly, but they have an option to buy. But Tottenham is looking to take him from Trabzonspor. He's been impressive in the Turkish league. I mean, really, really great stats, great play from him in the Turkish league. 49 games, 33 goals, and 11 assists. Very, very solid stats. Of course, I don't think those stats would translate to the Premier League, just to the different level of competition, different quality that is in the Premier League, but he would be a great striker to add to the team. Whether or not they can get him, though, will be a question. Whether Sorloth even wants to go to Tottenham, or he wants to stay at Trabzonspor. But he looks like a great option that in terms of just looking statistically at him. I don't watch the Turkish league, but what we're seeing, I'm looking at statistically, he looks like a great striker in terms of good striker, that could be an option as a backup for Harry Kane or playing alongside Harry Kane and the rest of the front three. But still, good option for Tottenham, and it's definitely something that they're interested in. Even the Trabzonspor president stated that Tottenham are interested in him, and we'll see. It'll be a matter of time whether the Tottenham brings him in or they're going to be looking for a different striker to bring in. Also, let's speak about Aston Villa. Aston Villa, my goodness, they have expended intensely, and it's all justified. No strikers that they had as backup, real quality strikers that they could use. But now they're bringing in players like Traore and other players. Not Adama Traore, but from Lyon and other players just to really beef up their team. And if they get relegated this season, it is a massive, massive disappointment for Aston Villa and the club as a whole. You're investing so much. Jack Grealish did not leave your team. Your best player did not leave your team. In fact, he signed a new deal, which just reconfirms his commitment, but now he has a release clause, so he might leave at the end of the season. But I believe he has a release clause, if I'm true. I don't want to say something that's not true. But Jack Grealish, with his recommitment to the squad for another season, he should lead alongside the new players that they brought in, Aston Villa, with this heavy investing. They should, stay in the league. If they don't stay in the league, then it's a massive disappointment. You've invested so heavily. You barely managed to stay in the Premier League last season. And if you lose consistently and just put in poor performances and miss out, then that is a very, very big disappointment for Villa fans and the club. You have some players that are coming in that are pretty quality, like Martinez, a good goalkeeper. Pepe Reina is old. It isn't really, I'd say Premier League level still, but he's still an okay goalkeeper, but he's not Premier League level, and Martinez is a far better option. And you're bringing in these players that are beefing up your squad, and if you're looking for long-term success in the Premier League, and you're doing that by putting investment in, then you need to stay. And I don't think that they will get relegated because of the squad type of players that they have. Jack Grealish is still in the squad. Jack Grealish, easily one of the best players. I put him as a substitute, secondary player in my Premier League team of the year because of how good he was and how he carried Aston Villa pretty much for a large part of the season, and if not the entire season. And just very solid player, and he is one of the reasons, and will probably be another reason for them avoiding relegation and staying in the Premier League this season again. All right, that will be it for this episode of the Football Baron podcast. We're just going to have some closing thoughts. Really excited for the games coming up. Of course, Premier League is always a joy to watch. But Bundesliga, I believe, is coming up as well, if not next week, excuse me. I'm pretty sure it's coming up this week. But Man United versus Crystal Palace will be an interesting game. Of course, Man United and Man City were playing a week later because they were ahead in the UEFA competition. They were pretty far into it. So we got some interesting games. I'm going to list some. Leeds United versus Fulham. It's going to be probably a Leeds win. Everton versus West Brom. If Everton are still looking good and James Rodriguez is still good, Everton's going to win. Man United versus Crystal Palace. Man United should win with the quality players that they have. Crystal Palace, I think, are still a little shaky. In fact, I think they'll probably do worse maybe than last season. Arsenal versus West Ham. Arsenal should win. They got Aubameyang on a new deal. Lacazette's looking pretty good. He had a pretty good start. They got some better players. Leno's back fit. They should win. Southampton versus Tottenham. Højbjerg is going to be facing his old team. It's going to be interesting to see because Tottenham need to recover from that loss. Hopefully they're defensively a little bit more solid, less mistakes, and potentially more goals from that Harry Kane, Son, and Bergwijn and all the rest. Lucas Moura. Should be a Tottenham win. Newcastle versus Brighton. Newcastle, for sure. Newcastle, I'm surprised they invested a good amount. Brought in players like Wilson and Fraser. Good investment into the squad. They should win. Chelsea versus Liverpool. I'm so excited for the Chelsea versus Liverpool game. It is going to be a joy to watch. Chelsea versus Liverpool. Chelsea versus Liverpool. Holy crap. I'm thinking about it. Who will win? I'm gonna edge towards Liverpool. I think that Kepa, if they still have Kepa in that goal, in the net, I think he's gonna be a very shaky player that Liverpool could exploit, and I think they will. So I'm gonna say Liverpool 3-2. I must say that. That's my scoreline. Leicester City versus Burnley. Leicester City again. I think we're seeing Jamie Vardy be on fire again. Although they were penalties, I think he's gonna be on fire again. I think he's got at least another 2 seasons in him. Just 2 quality seasons, superb seasons. Aston Villa versus Sheffield United. Sheffield United, I don't feel confident about at all as a club. I think when you did so well last season, I think they're gonna just try to look to get mid-table. If they do that again, that's incredible. And Chris Wilder definitely deserves an applause. Aston Villa should win. Wolves versus Man City. Honestly, I want to lean towards Wolves. But I'd have to say Man City. I feel like they probably mentally recovered from the failure in the Champions League and what they did last season as a team as a whole. But Wolves, I think it'll be a close game. Wolves, I'd say 1-3, 1-2 in Man City's favor. But interesting games coming up. Just my thoughts on what's going to happen. But of course, you can leave your comments below on your thoughts are. Of course, you can check out our YouTube channel. Football Baron is our YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe to us or listen to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and Google Podcasts, or in any other podcast platform you listen on. But thank you all for listening. I hope you guys are excited. If you have any clubs you're supporting, I wish you the best. And good luck, and have fun, and enjoy the football that's coming up this week.